Hello, wonderful robotics students. This is Mrs. A. We're going to do the second challenge, the Move Challenge. This is the second challenge on the Crane mission. So during this challenge, you are going to be adding an ultrasonic sensor, which is the distance sensor. And then you're also going to build what is called a cuboid or a cube. The instructions are on the PDF for the driving base. Okay, so let's get started with it, shall we? So this is the PDF. If you don't have it, you can click on it. But if you have already built it, you can click OK. All right. So the first thing that we are going to do when we start our program is do this show mood. Now you can do the mood, you don't have to, but it is an easy way for you to see if your code is working. So this first code is we want to steer the motors and turn it for one rotation. So on start, we want to show this mood, this wide-eyed mood, and we want the motors to turn and move for one rotation. All right, so we want it to spin for a little bit. So let's do that. So on start, we are going, I'm just going to move this over. We are going to show mood, the wide-eyed one. And then we want to click on the motors drawer and pick the steer motors, B and C. And we want that for one rotation. Okay. So this is on start. So when we start this whole entire robot, when you download the program, it's going to start right away. Okay. So the next step after that is to pick up an on button block, and we want to change the control for the up button. But what we are going to do is also keep this mood inside the on start button, but we're going to move this one that we just did into the up button. So let me show you that in a second. All right, so here we go. So here's the on button. Okay. And instead of enter, you're going to click this down arrow and you're going to click the up. Okay. We're going to take this steer motors and put that in there. Show mood. I think that one was like the angry one. So I'm going to keep it like that. So far we have on start, this mood happens. And then when we hit the up arrow, our robot is going to move forward. Activate. All right. And it moves forward for one rotation. So if you want your robot to move forward a little bit further, you can change the rotations to 2, 3, 4, 5, like you did in the last one. But for the sake of the experiment and the challenge, we're just going to keep it as 1. All right. So next one, this is when up is pressed. So that up button, this is the up button. This is the down button. This is left, and that's right. So for the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to set a brake. So when we start, we also want our motors to be off. So we want that to happen as well. So we don't want our motors to start right away. So let's put the brake on our motors when we start it. So go to motors drawer. It says set large motor brake. And you're putting that under the start button. You're going to click this to on. So if you notice right now, if I try and do the drop down, it doesn't give me the option to pick both of them. And it actually adds an extra motor. We don't want that. So what you need to do is you need to change this drop down to 2 motors. And so in just a second, this guy will disappear. Yep, there you go. And then it shows that you're going to do B and C on the brakes. All right. So we have started right now this is what we have to start. The brakes are on when we start. And then when we press the up button,
activate,
it changes and it moves for 1 rotation. All right. So here we go. Next, we want to have our robot turn left and right. So we're going to do that. So it's the same set of codes. We're going to do 2 of the on buttons, pull that over. So let's do that real quick. 2 on buttons. And then 2 moods. And so notice right here how it's like kind of grayed out. It's kind of cross-sectioned. It means that there's 2 different buttons with the same thing. So that means that this one's not going to run because something needs to change. So we're going to do, this one's going to be the left button. This one's going to be the right button. So on the left button, we're going to change the mood for the guy with his eyes looking left. Well, it doesn't really have to be a guy. It can be a girl too, or a person. Doesn't really matter, or just a robot. So on the next one down, you can have this robot looking right. All right. So far, on the left button pressed, the robot is going to look
analyze,
left,
analyze,
and then right. But we want the robot to actually turn, so we need the steer motors block on both of them. So we're going to do that on both of them. And both of them are going to be 1 rotation. But here's where it differs. Here's where it gets different. So on the left, for it to turn left, the turn ratio needs to change. So the turn ratio, instead of 0, it's going to change to -50. So you see how if I want to change it and I pull this little button over to the side, notice what direction that arrow is bending toward. It's bending toward the left. So -50 turn ratio is going to turn you to the left. So to the left. And then for right, what do you think we're going to do? So if left is -50, right would be +50. So instead of trying to fiddle with this little cursor, you can also just type in what you need. So far, we have the up button when pressed is going to give a mood and move forward.
activate,
There we go. If we click the left button,
analyze,
it's going to turn left. If we turn
analyze,
right, it's going to turn right. All right. Going on from here. We have a couple more different steps on this. This one's a little bit of a long challenge, but that's okay. So when down button is pressed, we want our robot to move backwards. So instead of moving forwards, we're going to move it backwards. All right. So again, we're going to click on this on button, click a mood, and then pull over the steer motors. So instead of enter, we want the down button. So right now we have all the buttons up, down, left, right. All of them are pressed. And I think this mood was this guy right here. All right, so let's add one rotation here. All right, so the up button, that one already works like this with a 0 speed and at 50% for one rotation. Or turn ratio 0, so it's not turning at all. Speed is 50. This right here, however, we don't want it to turn, so we have to keep this as 0. But instead of positive 50, we're going to make this negative 50. So we're going to make it go backwards for negative 50. So for our robot to go backwards, you need to have speed at negative 50%. I know it seems like it's silly. I know that you think negative 50%, you can't have negative 50 of anything. Well, I mean, you can, but that doesn't really make sense. Well, on the robot program, negative 50% means that it's just going the opposite direction. So it's not like negative speed, it's going in the opposite direction of positive, which in this case is going backwards. I hope that makes sense. And if it doesn't, after you try coding it, then let me know. All right, so the next part to this challenge is to add the ultrasonic sensor. So see right here where you have this little part in the front, this is where you're going to add the ultrasonic sensor. The ultrasonic sensor looks like a pair of binoculars. It looks like two eyes looking out. It senses distance. So you're going to click on your PDF to try and figure out how to put it on. You're also going to be building this thing right here, which is a cuboid right here. So I would build that as well as put your ultrasonic sensor on your robot at the same time. So the cuboid instructions are also in the driving base PDF file. So you can also click on it on the Mindstorms page that I just showed you. All right. So add the ultrasonic base to your driving base, or ultrasonic sensor to your driving base, and then go on. And then here's the last code that you're going to put on your robot. So on enter, this is the mood. It's like a little spinny wheel mood. And then you're going to steer the motor. And then you're going to pause the robot until it gets to a distance of less than 6 centimeters from the cube. So the cube that you are going to create, the robot is going to stop 6 meters or 6 centimeters from that cube. That's what we want it to do. All right, so let's go through this. On button, enter. So we're going to keep the enter button there. We're going to do a mood, and that's the little swirly mood. And then we want to steer motors. And notice how in the tutorial, it did not ask you to add any rotations. It's going to automatically move. It's going to automatically go. All right. Here's where it gets a little bit complicated. So we want the pause until. So this is also another green block. So motors is a green block. The loops button is a kind of a lighter kind of sage type green block. So you want the pause until. And instead of it being true or false, we need to replace it with something. We need to replace it with another logic block. So if you click on logic, there's two buttons to choose from. One is an equal to, and one is a less than. We want the less than block. We want to take it until it shows up highlighted. Sometimes this takes a little bit tricky. See how I'm kind of hovering over it and it's not quite fitting until there. Okay. All right. So this is where now we pick up our sensor. So we click on the sensors drawer, pick up a sensor, put it in there. So we want the motors to run until the ultrasonic sensor senses something 6 centimeters. So ultrasonic distance, if it's less than 6 centimeters, something's going to happen. We want to stop large motors. So instead of it saying large motor, we want the drop down and click motors. So let's just make sure that that code is complete. Yep. So now you're done. So you have 5 different codes for kind of steering.
Analyze. Error. Analyze.
And then you have this enter button that you push. And then when something is less than 6, it's going to stop the motors. All right. That is what you're going to do. So then once you have all these codes, so 6 different codes on this work right here, you're going to click, let's see, you're going to click download. Just like you did for the try program, just like you did for the move program. And it's going to say Lego Crane Mission 2, Lego Crane Mission Robot 2. And then again, drag that, drop that to your EV3, press the buttons, send your robot toward the little cube that you build, and see if it stops. You can also send it toward a wall or send it toward any other item and see if your robot can sense the cube in front of it or the object in front of it. All right. Hopefully that's not too complicated. There's a lot of different moving parts, but I hope that after you do this, you can understand how a robot can sense its environment and then act upon it by stopping. All right, friends, have a great rest of your day. This is the Crane Mission 2. This is 2 out of 3 challenges that you're going to finish for me during winter break. Have a wonderful day. Bye.